We play and call it work.
Hey everybody, Matthew and Dave here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to the next in our series of...
You're a good man. You're a good man. You go through a lot. You really do. And one day, you will not play Tau anymore, and you will just be purged of all the fish poison that's in your body, coursing through your veins. That's all I gotta say.
Okay. Now this is another Tau review. The biggest update has happened now, and that is on Saturday, the new Tau Codex came out. And if you thought that anything else was ridiculous in all our Who Would Wins, you are ill-prepared. The fun thing is, I actually got to play the new Tau this week. And what we're going to do here is we're going to have a two-part video for the review of the Tau Codex. And so the first one is today, and the next one will be coming out sometime next week.
Did you just say the cow Codex?
Cow Codex? Did I say the Cow Codex?
That's what I heard.
It works though, because they have kind of like cow hooves.
They do. Yeah.
So, yeah, or goat hooves, whatever you want to look at. And after each of these is going to be a full-blown 2,000 point battle report in the vault. Now, I'm sorry, it's not between Dave and I, or Dave and me, sorry.
Not between I?
Yeah, it would be
and
between
you?
me. It would
Me
be
and
Dave
you?
and me,
Yeah.
But we'll be doing that later on this year. I promise you we'll be... Oh, no, wait. No, I know we'll be playing against each other. I can't promise it's Tau. But anyways, doesn't matter. I played a couple games this week with the new Tau, 2,000 points in each of them. One against Leland's Admech, and another against a guy who came in, Sheldon, and his Dark Eldar/Eldar.
And he beat you because
I'm not going to give away anything.
He has an eidetic memory.
All I'm going to say
But
is
he's socially awkward.
It's given. No, he's great. Sheldon was awesome.
What? Big Bang? Oh, not him. Okay.
No, not Sheldon from Big Bang.
Gotcha.
That would have been cool.
That would have been.
Yeah, guest starring. But I really got a chance to see how they play. And so today we're going to talk about what's in the Codex. So we're not going to focus so much on what the Ghost Keels do or the Storm Surges do or what the Breacher teams do or the new Commander. We're not going to talk about the units except how they relate together in the actual formations.
So they travel in schools underwater?
And so, like before, Dave is not prepared for this purposefully because we want to get his reaction as he learns about how everything works. And then we'll have a couple discussions too about, there's some real issues with the rules already because...
Like wording issues?
Yeah, and also there's some interesting weird stuff that happens because of the way that's worded. And we'll talk about why there's those issues and then our own house rules that we're going to do for now until like the ITC or Adepticon or Games Workshop themselves FAQs it to whatever they think it should be. So I know Reese from Frontline Gaming, who does the ITC stuff, has been talking about some of the issues too. And he's writing, at least at the point of him writing the article, he was still kind of wondering what to do because it's just weird. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get there. So let's take a look. So, like all the other codexes, the big thing in the new Tau Codex is its new detachment. It's Decurion type detachment, as we like to call it, because the Necrons did it first. It's called the Hunter... Oh, come on. Contingent, thank you. No, it's not Hunter Contingent. I can't believe I've already forgotten that. I'd used it like twice. Yeah, Hunter Contingent. I'm right. Hunter Contingent. Sorry, I can't believe my brain went blank. I practiced all the names of everything in it so I could actually look like I knew what I was talking about. So the Hunter Contingent, it works just like every other of these formations where you have a core formation. It's a detachment of formations. It has a core one that you have to bring. It has the optional command ones, and then it has the auxiliary ones where you have to bring 1 to 10 auxiliary per core. And you can bring...
I think Khorne Daemonkin was the first to do it, actually.
No, Necrons.
Did they come up before Khorne?
Yeah, the Necron Decurion.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Necron Decurion did it, then Khorne,
with
their Blood Host, is that what it's called?
Detachment, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Eldar War Host, and now the Tau Hunter Contingent. So we're on our 4th Codex to do the, and that's why people still online call it the Decurion type detachment because they were the first to do it. And I really like them. I like how they all work. Oh, Space Marines, of course. Space Marines did it too. The Gladius Strike Force. I really like how these do work. Now, before we even get into what's in the Hunter Contingent, the main rules for this could occupy the discussion for our entire video. One of them is boring. Ideal Mission Commander. They get to re-roll their Warlord trait. Big whoop day.
Everyone does, right?
It's really nice because the Tau Warlord traits are actually really good. I've noticed that a lot of codexes, they're meh.
So if they're so good, why are they going to re-roll it?
I don't know. because I want the right one. Because they're really good, but you still want a very specific one for whatever you're trying to pull off. Like
you're
one of
right.
them lets you deep strike without scattering, so you really want that for a commander. Another one lets everybody, one use only, everybody stand up after having gone to ground. So that's really good for a Cadre Fireblader and Ethereal. So you spend one turn just going to ground, and everybody gets ridiculously good cover saves, and then the next turn you go, everybody's up.
What are you, Necrons? What are you like?
And it's,
Are you okay? Hold on, wait. Is that like within a bubble?
no, whole table. As long as the Warlord's on the table already.
That's like never a thing.
Yeah.
Does
All of them get to stand up. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. And that's why people love Aunval, one of the Ethereals, because he has that as his default Warlord trait. So when you bring him and make him the Warlord, you got that. Plus, he's awesome in many other ways.
so then hide behind a wall, get your 2-up save.
If
everyone
you have
goes
the
down,
the Aegis defense line, or
which
the
you probably do if you're Tau.
maybe no, this okay. The Hunter, that's actually interesting. You mentioned that the Hunter contingent doesn't have fortifications, including the new Tau fortifications. I thought that was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
You have to bring a combined arms attachment to get that brought in. What are your thoughts on that? Why do you think they would do that? It's a new model. They're still selling it. Wasn't limited release. The one box set was limited, but now they sell everything individually.
I think it was an oversight.
I don't know. That's a pretty big oversight.
Have they done oversights before?
That would be pretty.
Because they're trying to sell models, right? If that's their number one goal is to sell models, why would they not include it in the main thing that you would
It's
bring?
not even in the Codex. It's only in the campaign supplement.
But you know what? It's also a terrain piece, right?
Yeah.
And how well does their terrain do as opposed to their models,
Yeah.
right? It's experimental in nature. This is the very first time that an army has come out with a specific terrain piece.
Yeah. It still would have been cool to see in the Hunter Cadre saying 0 to 1, whatever, or having like a fortification formation, because they have all sort in the Kalyan, the campaign book. Yeah, it's called Kalyan.
Like a cow is yawning.
No, it's K-A-U.
Oh,
Like a canyon. but
like a can. Yes. Okay.
It actually looks like canyon when you read it at first, except not.
I saw
In
you
that
there.
they have tons of formations for the terrain. So the one that we played with the other day, that was just one of the formations. There's actually a bunch of different ways to bring them.
So there could have been a better way.
Well, there's different ways. Like you remember that big gun one? You can actually have one of them that's 3 of those. So that's all it is. There's no shield walls or anything. It's just 3 of those guns. So, but, Anyway, it's not included. But the other big rule, and this is the big deal, and I've already experienced this in 2 battle reports and know how big a deal it is called coordinated firepower. Now, this is the best thing, I think, for the new Tau Codex.
It's called what?
Coordinated firepower.
Okay.
And it's also the thing that's causing the most disputes. So I want to get your take. I won't even tell you what the dispute is. I want you to hear it, and then I'm going to give you an example, and you tell me how you think it should work.
Okay.
All right?
Sounds good.
So here's how it works. This affects everybody in this detachment. Keep that in mind. Whenever a unit from a Hunter Contingent selects a target in the shooting phase, okay, any number of other units from the same detachment who can still shoot can add their firepower to the attack. These units must shoot at the same target, resolving their shots as if they were a single unit. So far, not a big deal, right? So you choose to have 3 guys fire at the same time. This includes the use of marker light abilities. So you put a marker light on a guy, normally 1 unit could use that marker light and then it's gone.
Yep.
Now you can say this unit's going to fire at it and so are these 2, but we'll use that 1 marker light and boost all of their ballistic skill by 1. Or heck, there could be 2 marker lights, and so now they all ignore cover.
Okay.
When 3 or more units combine their firepower, the firing models add 1 to their ballistic skill. So get 2 marker lights on that thing over there, and then have 3 guys participate, and they'll ignore cover and be hitting on 3s rather than 4s, because the typical ballistic skill of Tau is 3. So now they're all hitting on 3s. Okay?
Sure.
Well, how does that feel so far?
Cheese.
Why? Why do you feel it is?
Well, it's very okay. First off, what about range of gun?
It doesn't mention anything.
So if it's out of range,
Can it still participate?
No.
It doesn't say anything against that.
well, it's just how can it?
I don't know.
If it's on the other side of the table, let's say it's corner to corner, and there's a 24-inch range, I would say no.
It
Definitely
just says who can still shoot.
right. Who can still shoot?
Can add these units must shoot at the same target.
Because just because you can shoot doesn't mean you can because you're out of range. I would say that's a definite. There's no question.
Well, let's double check that. There's one way that we can do that. We can look up the shooting phase. and see what it says.
About what?
What you just said.
Range of weapon?
Can you choose a target that none of your weapons have range to?
Okay.
Okay, because you can definitely choose a target that some of your weapons don't have range to, right? Like if you have Space Marines with a missile launcher and a guy's 48 inches away, you can still target that one with a missile launcher, right?
Sure, but not shoot it with its bolters.
Your bolters just can't shoot. They're
That's
just
right.
effectively lost. Choose a target. Once you have chosen the unit that you want to shoot with, choose a single enemy unit for them to shoot at. To do so, you must check the range and line of sight from your unit to the enemy unit you are targeting. So, to do so, note that you may check the range and line of sight to multiple enemy units before deciding which one. You cannot target a unit that is locked in combat. To target an enemy unit, at least one model must have line of sight. So there's that. If no one has line of sight, then select a different target. It doesn't specifically say you have to have range. It just says to do so, you must check the range and line of sight. It then goes on to say that if you don't have line of sight, you can't have targeted it.
Okay, sure.
It doesn't go on to say if you didn't have range, you couldn't have targeted it. Because then you select a weapon, and because then you check range. All weapons have maximum range. A weapon must be in range of the target unit to shoot. A weapon. But we're already past the choosing a target. See, that's the hard part.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
No.
Order of operations, the shooting sequence. Nominate unit to shoot. Easy.
Yeah.
Choose a target. The
Yeah.
unit can shoot at an enemy unit that it can see.
Okay.
That's all it says.
Sure.
Doesn't talk about anything about range.
Uh-huh.
Select a weapon. Select a weapon with a firing unit is equipped with. All models equipped with a weapon that they all fire at the same time. Every model that wishes to shoot must be within range of at least one visible model. But we're already past choose a target.
Okay, so you can choose it.
You just can't. And you could be out of range and you can still choose it.
Okay, sure, you choose it, but if you're out of range, you can't hurt it.
Doesn't matter. You can still help contribute to that number of units so that you can get the +1 ballistic skill.
Okay, well then.
Oh,
sure.
so you're saying that they can't fire if they're out of range?
Correct.
Oh, yeah. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, well, I was
okay.
No.
No.
Whoa.
No.
I am really happy now because I'm like,
We're not-
dude, are you serious?
We're not increasing their weapons to infinite range.
Yeah, I was just gonna
They're
say.
firing as if they're one unit.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm trying to say is, I've got 2 Pathfinders sitting over here who are running away, and they can still shoot.
Yeah, I guess.
And there's a
technically.
thing on that end of the board that they're clearly out of range
Uh-huh.
of, as long as they can see it, because you're not allowed to choose a
Yeah.
target that you can't see.
Yeah.
Then they could participate in that attack. And if they're the third wheel, so that you had these 2 units that wanted to fire,
Uh-huh.
but you have nobody else you want to add on to that, but you've got these 2 marker lights that can see them, or one of them can see them.
Sure.
Then you can be like, there's my third, give him +1 ballistic skill.
Okay.
How does that feel?
Well, it feels like cheese.
It feels a little wrong, right?
Well, it's kind of black and white, so.
So they're allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? I know, but it gets worse.
According to what I know right
That's
now.
it. That's all there is.
According to what I know, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It gets better. Okay.
Gets better or worse.
Depends which side you're on.
Okay.
If you're on your side, it gets worse. Okay, so remember this line. These units must shoot at the same target. Oh, hold on. Yeah, here we are. Resolving their shots as if they were a single unit. Okay? Now, certain special rules will say if a model has this special rule, then the unit that it is part of gets this. For example, if I have one guy with Monster Hunter, the special rule for Monster Hunter says if a unit containing a model with Monster Hunter,
Yeah.
then they all basically get the effects.
Sure.
So if I have a unit with a guy with Monster Hunter, for example, the commander can bring a signature system, a relic essentially, that allows him to choose counterattack, Monster Hunter, Tank Hunter, and some other stuff at the beginning of each of his turns, and it lasts for an entire turn. And he's part of a unit, so that he typically, then he grants it to his unit, like no problem. But let's say he chooses a target, and then 2 other things join in. Do they also have Monster Hunter?
According to the rules, yes.
Okay, so it gets even better.
Okay.
There's a typical loadout for a commander in a battle suit called a buff Mander. Seriously, because you basically give him no weapons. And instead you give him, and these are all again relics, and unlike other codexes, you can bring multiple relics. One of them is called a command and control node, whereas he doesn't shoot, then his unit gets to ignore cover. Sorry. No, they get to twin link.
Okay.
And
And
then
that
he has-
would negate marker light, right?
And then he has also a multi-spectrum suite, sensor suite. Whereas
Is it at the top of the apartment building?
Yeah, exactly. If he doesn't shoot, his unit gets to ignore cover.
So there's that.
And it specifically says this can be used with command and control. Like, if you don't shoot, you get the benefits of both.
Right.
And then you also give him the Pure Tide engram ship, and he can choose to have Tank Hunter or Monster Hunter.
Okay.
So typically, this has been used in the past, before this codex. And he joins a group of Crisis battle suits with, like, Strength 6 AP2 Plasma and Strength 8 AP1 Fusion Melta. and they drop in beside something, he doesn't shoot, and they get twin linking, ignoring cover, and they're usually in rapid fire range. And if it's a monster they're going after, then they have Monster Hunter. If it's a tank they're going after, they have Tank Hunter. And they're awesome, right? That was already pretty a big deal for the Tau. Now, let's say some other guys join in. Do they all get Tank Hunter, ignore cover, twin linked?
Now, are you setting up the question in such a way where as to trap me into an answer?
There is no trap. This is a debate.
Why is it a debate?
You tell me, should they be able to get it? What do you think, based on the rules? They resolve their shots as if they were a single unit.
Yeah.
And it says this includes the use of marker light abilities. It specifies that one.
Okay.
So does it sound like they should get that?
It's rules as written.
It's pretty crazy. And you're right, it is rules as written. And I agree with you, but I sure as heck I'm not playing it that way.
Why?
Because, okay, having played a couple games and seen this rule in effect, they don't need that.
They don't need that?
Yeah, let me just put
so
that
they
way.
have other things that don't even need this.
The funny thing is, Reese from Frontline Gaming, he wrote an article on Bell of Lost Souls talking about this particular thing. And he said that he went to 4 different tournament Tau players. I think they're all Tau players, but still, like guys who like play the game almost professionally, except they're doing tournaments. And he said he got 4 different answers from them of how it should be actually done. For everything from, yeah, of course they get that, to no, they don't get that, to only the unit itself with those special rules gets that. Because okay, we can make it even worse. What if one of those units is sitting on an objective that has Skyfire, and so he fires at a plane, and this thing over here joins in, and they act as a single unit? Does that other side get Skyfire? Oh, and by the way, he's sitting on an objective that gives him target lock, which lets you reroll ones when you're shooting.
Jeez.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Can you? I can see a bit of a flaw, and maybe something that Games Workshop may have missed when they wrote this rule. And now the only thing that you could use to argue against any of that is that it says specifically this includes the use of marker light abilities. Why would they have to say that? Unless they were excluding everything else.
So why would they even say, excuse me, why would they even say that it would be as if they're the same unit, if they need to specify?
Exactly, because if they're the same unit, then they would get the marker light anyway. So you could look at this as 2 ways. One, they're just clarifying, which is always nice to clarify a rule. So it's not meant to be exclusionary, it's just meant to be like, yeah, you can use marker lights, don't worry, that gets included.
Well, okay.
Or you can make it, or you can think that it's exclusionary, that it's clarifying you can bring marker lights, but not everything else.
So what does resolving their shots as if they were a single unit actually mean?
That's a good question. If you just take it as pure rules as written, then basically everything we've talked about is legit. But then you get even weirder situations. For example, the Storm Surge is gargantuan, right?
Yeah.
It can fire its weapons at different targets. And so...
Does that rule pass on?
Can it contribute itself to all these different ones? And yeah, does it keep Monster Hunter for all these ones? Because it's now part of that unit. So let's say we have the buff Mander firing at something, and this gargantuan joins in, but he only fires one of his weapons at that. But the buff Mander is given him ignore cover, twin linked Monster Hunter.
And you can
Do
shoot
the
him multiple
rest of his
targets.
weapons then, firing at the other targets, have ignore cover, twin link Monster Hunter? Because he's still shooting as if he's a single unit, and he's just using his own special rules that let him fire weapons at other units.
Wait, hold on. Does it not say that all the weapons have to be fired at the one unit?
These units must shoot the same target.
Yeah.
It doesn't say all their weapons. Oh, yeah, that brings another interesting thing. Target lock is an upgrade. You can give a ton of stuff in Tau, which allows, it's a kind of a split fire. But if I'm remembering correctly, I know this is crazy, isn't it? And we're just on the main thing, right? A model with target lock can shoot at a different target to the rest of his unit. It's not split fire. There's a very important distinction. Split fire says a unit with split fire, one guy can fire something separate. So if I gave 10 guys target lock and it was actually just giving them split fire and they all fired as one unit, then only one of those guys could actually fire at something separate. But target lock says a model with target lock can fire something separate. And so you can make entire units of Crisis Battlesuits, each with target lock. You can have a unit of Ghost Keels, each with target lock. And then you have them all join in to fire at one little thing and gain the ignore cover twin link Monster Hunter. And then all those guys with target lock fire at something else and have their ignore cover twin linked Monster Hunter and Skyfire and rerolling ones and anything else that you can think of. Can you see how this is a little weird? It's
Like
just-
overpowered.
it's like it's so overpowered that I can't imagine that was their intent. I think it's just a humongous oversight. Forget the fortification oversight. This like eclipses that.
Okay.
I can't imagine that's what they meant. My feeling is it should just be the marker light benefit, and then each unit has their own benefits. Like if this unit sit down Skyfire, they have Skyfire. If this one sit down Targeting Relay, they get to reroll ones.
You know, I think if you want to make friends, that's probably the best thing to do.
That's how we played it. We played it that way in these 2 games.
Okay.
Until we get, and I admit that people won't agree with that. Because like you said, rules as written is pretty clear that they should be able to do all this. But then all of a sudden they started talking about all these other weird stuff that happens.
But it comes up, if it comes up, it comes up.
But these things will happen in almost every game. Because all the Tau player has to do is bring the buff Mander. And boom, they can basically, that unit right there, oh, and everybody else, because I'll just put target lock on everybody, is dead. Because the big disadvantage of this rule is that they all have to fire at just one squad.
That's right.
And so it's like, if you're playing orcs, then, okay, great.
Big deal.
Take all those special rules and annihilate my squad of boys.
Sure.
Or the squad of bikes.
Because there's that too.
Yeah.
It may seem overpowered, but it's only one unit that they're
It's
firing.
a Death Star killer.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden we can throw in all this target lock stuff, and they maintain all those special rules, then it negates that disadvantage.
Now, would they maintain
They're part of that
those
unit.
rules?
They're part of that unit. Like if a buff Mander's part of a crisis suit squad and they all have target lock, and he says ignore cover twin link monster hunter, they can each fire at a different target and get ignore cover twin link monster hunter. He doesn't choose a target that you get that against. He's a model in that unit, and he gives it to them. So if they're all a unit, then they all get that regardless of who they're firing at. Oh, and they get their +1 ballistic skill, even if they fire at something else. I don't understand how this didn't, you know.
Okay, you know how I felt about Tau before, right?
You're justified. Now, like I said, we're not going to play it that way. And even if the ITC comes out and says, yeah, that's right, I still probably would house rule against it. That would be one of the times where I'd actually...
But why?
Because I play Tau.
But if that's the rule, why would you... If that's the rule and it's clear as day, why?
Same reason I house ruled pretty much no Decurion. The rule is you can bring Decurion if you want to, right?
Sure.
But our house rule is pretty much, unless you're going up against an opponent who can take it, you're not allowed to bring Decurion. Same reason, because it's just too powerful.
You know, that's different.
Yeah.
That's different.
It is different.
Because that's an army build, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this is an ability in the army, no matter what the build. Is that right?
Well, the main problem with the Decurion is actually the thing that comes with all the Decurion. Same thing right here. It gives everything +1 reanimation protocol, and move through cover, and relentless, and it just goes on. And that's just the main Decurion rule. Because if you want to take the individual formations, if they're not part of the Decurion, they're not as good. So yeah, you can still bring those.
You know what? Maybe it's right. Because here's the thing, like, what's the #1 seller of Games Workshop models? Space Marines?
Yeah.
And so they want to bolster the sales of the other armies, right? So let's make something extremely overpowered so that more people want to collect it.
But this makes a Necron Decurion thing look like
Necron's old news now.
the Sisters of Battle.
Yeah.
Seriously, it makes them look like, oh, why was everybody complaining about that?
Not necessarily, right? Because think of Drop Pod Assault.
Meaning what?
Meaning they come in and they take out
The Tau?
40% of the army, and then, sure, everything can fire at one unit, but it doesn't work. What do you mean?
Tau have access to a 3-point upgrade per model that gives them Interceptor. The Storm Surges, for 3 points, all their weapons can fire at you when you drop pod in. You'll see that in today's battle report. I'm telling you that if we play them rules as written, that I don't think they have a match. The only thing I can think that could beat them would be to bring an army where you can bring tons and tons and tons of minimum units. Like, forget buffing anything. You just give them so many targets that they're like, all this combining stuff no longer even matters.
Corn Damican.
But then your Bloodthirsters will still get picked off. Like, I'm talking
Well,
like...
I'm not going to bring Bloodthirsters.
I'm thinking like orcs, lots of war bikes, and minimum squads.
But that sucks. That
I know,
you have
right?
to do that
I know.
in order to
I know.
actually...
Now, thankfully for our battle reports, sure, the first few, I'll tell you right now, the one I played today and the one you're going to see next week, I'm not going to tell you who won, but I'll tell you for sure that gloves were off. I told my opponent, build the cheesiest, dirtiest list you can with your army. because I'm going to do the same thing, because I need to showcase what they can do. Just like I did with the Necron Decurion at first. I think I played too many games with the Decurion before I finally realized I needed to not do it. If I think same thing will happen with these Tau, it'll only be like half a dozen games as I try out the different formations, and if they turn out to be too powerful, then you can bet I'm going to scale them back by playing just a combined arms attachment kind of thing. Because they're still fun, even as combined arms attachment.
It's crazy.
It is. And we've just covered the one rule that covers everything. We haven't even talked about some of the formations. Maybe we'll talk about one of them here to give you a little taste. And then we'll spend our second video going over some of the interesting aspects of these formations. Some of them are fine. Like you'll read some of them and be like, yeah, that's cool. But there's 2 or 3 that you're going to balk at. So I have to warn you that. Do you want to know one of them?
No. I don't actually.
It's okay. It's okay. You have to put up with a lot, Dave. You have to put up with a lot because you don't play Tau. You chose Chaos, and they haven't had an update in a while.
Hey, I will always be Chaos.
And
No matter how
Tyranids.
weak they are.
Hey, you know what? If things go as planned, as we hear rumors for, January will be Tyranids, and shortly after will be Chaos. It'll be our first quarter.
It will be.
It will be.
Wouldn't it?
I hope so, unless they really trash the codexes like they did the last time with the Tyranids update. The last Tyranid codex was awful. So I'm like,
That wasn't too bad.
oh, it was horrible. It was so bad. I'm still reeling from it. And the Chaos one was okay for its time.
But it was like one of the first ones that they did in the
Long time ago.
revamps.
Yeah.
That was like 2012.
Let's go over one, okay? Just
At
one.
8.
And then the next video, we'll go over the other ones. We'll do these about half an hour each. Okay. Let's talk about, let's talk about the main one. Because it has some cool stuff. This one I don't think is super overpowered. So, we'll give you something to kind of ease you into it. This is the one that is required, the core choice. It's called the Hunter Cadre. That's how you'd say that word, right? Cadre?
Sure.
Cadre.
Cadre.
Cadre! Yeah, it's a cadre.
Ole!
And this is their main core. And it requires a commander. It requires 3 to 6 troops, 1 to 3 elites, 1 to 3 fast, 1 to 3 heavy support.
Okay.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say heavy fast attack, but you'll notice that the list they give, if you were to look it up,
That's what it would be.
this is all the elites. This is all the fast
Yeah.
attack. These are all the heavies. These are all the troops.
Uh-huh.
So unless things get added elsewhere, essentially this is a 4-sword chart.
Right.
And then you have the option of adding in some bodyguards and a fireblade, which is just another HQ. So it's literally a second HQ. In Crisis Bodyguards were always allowed to be brought as not taking up a spot. So literally, it's a regular combined arms 4-sword chart, except you have to bring 3 troops instead of 2, and you have to bring a fast, elite, and heavy. But the nice thing is, in each of the fast, elite, and heavy, there is a choice that is really cheap. So if you're looking to min-max, no problem.
Yeah.
So this has 2 special rules.
Your hands are distracting me.
This has unbreakable bonds of comradeship, which, you know how they have supporting fire, where if you charge something within 6 inches can fire at you?
No. Yes. Yeah.
This sounds familiar, right?
Yeah.
I know you don't play against Tau very often, which is fine. So when you basically, they have most of the Tau units, except for like their Kroot and their Vespids, like the non-Tau. When you charge one of them, another unit within 6 inches can participate in the Overwatch.
Yes,
Okay.
that is familiar.
In this formation, it's 12 inches.
As opposed to 6.
Yeah. So basically, it's a lot easier to get that combined Overwatch. And that's pretty nasty, but not game-breaking, but is nasty.
It's nasty.
There are ways around that. You can still charge one guy, your cheap guy, into there to eat the Overwatch, and then have everybody else charge, or whatever.
Spawn.
And then they have a really cool rule called ambushes and feints. And any units from this formation, not the whole contingent, remember, just this formation, that are within 12 inches of either the commander or the Cadre Fireblade, so essentially within 12 inches of an HQ, can run and shoot, or flat out and shoot.
Okay.
And each unit must complete this before moving on. That's important because when you're combining fire, they're not going to be able to run and shoot, because you have one guy. You could have one guy run up, choose a target, and then have these other ones participate. But those other ones participating won't be able to run because they have to participate in the shooting attack. So you can't be like, okay, then they'll run, because it says each must resolve it. So it's by combining, you slow down your army. But the running and shooting thing is pretty nice. It actually came up in both of the battle reports that I played, either in the case where I wanted to do it or in a case where it actually worked really nicely.
Because they're lacking so much, they need to be.
Well, they're lacking in mobility. That's where they were always
What do they
lacking.
need mobility for when they can just plant themselves in fire?
Because if you're playing Maelstrom, Your opponent can just control the table, and
But not if they're dead.
well, you just have to survive. That's how I've beaten Tau so many times in the past, even with Tyranids. It's like, yeah, you'll kill me, but I'll just keep this one guy alive in the corner. And by the time you can come out, I'll have had so many points that you can't do that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But this makes them surprisingly mobile, which is kind of nice. So that's not bad, right? The Hunter Cadre, that's your core
Sure.
choice.
Yeah, it
That's-
doesn't
that's
sound
required.
like it's overpowered.
Yeah, it's just when you combine it with the whole coordinated firestorm thing, that's where it gets a little ridiculous. Not this, though. Just
But you know what? I don't think it's overly ridiculous.
the combined fire thing? Yeah.
It might sound weird coming from me, but seriously, sure, target my squad, my one squad, and target lock another squad,
Yeah.
right? But if I have like 15 units, that's one round, right?
It's true.
You know, like it sounds like a big deal, but don't you kind of want to do that anyway? You kind of want to like target a single unit until it's dead.
Until it's dead. Yeah, the Tau will be very good at picking off unit by unit.
Yeah, and they were good at that anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, now
it's
they're just even better at
it's
it.
kind of in my mind, it's overkill.
It's free marker lights is essentially what it is. If you have 3 squads participating, they get a +1 ballistic skill. That's 3 marker lights. Because before it would take a marker light for this guy, a marker light for this guy, and a marker light for this one. So it's essentially kind of adding onto the theme of marker lights, that they're working together. I can tell you, as much as it is powerful, it feels really good to do it. And I don't mean like I get to destroy my opponent, but it forces me to really think strategically. Because all of a sudden, when I'm playing the game, and I've done, like I said, I played it twice now, it's no longer just, okay, I want to kill that, so I'll start with this. Now I'll do this. Now I'll do this. You have to really think. You have to be like, I want this, but I really want him to hit, so I need to get 2 other units to fire as well. But I wanted this unit to fire at this thing over here. But is it worth it throwing it at here?
Yeah.
But I might have killed it with that unit anyways without needing the support. And also, there's been a really interesting thing that I found out. I tried it in my second game and it worked really well. And that is just bringing minimum units. So that 3 to 6 troop choices I was talking about, instead of bringing 3 12-man squads, you bring 6 6-man squads. Because then you have more squads to participate. So you have these little squads whose only job is just to participate to give the +1 ballistic skill. And they can grab objectives as well.
Sure.
So you get mobility and that ability to do that. And because if you only have the 3 squads of 12, that's only 3 squads. 6 squads of 6, same number of guys, but 3 or twice as many opportunities to do that combined fire. So I did find it kind of hurt my head to be like you.
There's a lot of combos.
But first I need to put some marker lights
Yeah.
on. But when I fire those marker lights, I really want the marker lights to hit. So these 2 min squads will fire with those marker lights to give them the +1 ballistic skill.
Here's a question: for that unit to nominate the one unit that they're all going to fire at, they got to be in range.
Well, it's the same thing. It's after a unit chooses a target, then you can have any extra number of units participate in that firing. So it's same discussion as what is allowed.
Okay, as long as they're in line of sight.
Yeah.
But the things firing at it have to be and actually be beneficial. Need to be in range. Sure, they get all the extra abilities, but if they're not in range, it's kind of redundant.
It's more just to give the +1 ballistic skill. Now, the way I do want to clarify one thing. The way I play it is you have to be in range of at least one of your guns.
Why?
Because I just feel right about doing that. How does their targeting data even help if they're so far away that they can barely see their target?
Yeah, it's to your own detriment if you don't. Right? Because things can actually hurt it if they're not in range.
Yeah, well, no, because there could be points where you have a couple guys on the other side of the table that have nothing to do, so you can just throw them in as part of somebody else's. But I still restrict it. The way I played it, I restricted it. I basically took everything that everybody says is overpowered about this, and I got rid of it until there's a ruling somewhere about what can be done. That way, nobody can complain about that. And let me just say, they didn't really need it.
Rules as written, as long as they have line of sight.
I know, but I don't play it that way.
You don't play rules as written?
No,
I thought
no.
you do.
I've
Or
always
are
been
you more wry?
well, this one rules as written is really clear, but it's just so frickin' overpowered that I just like in good conscience can't do it. And it's more because there's lots of arguments online about it.
Okay, here's the thing, right? Let's say the same thing happened to Chaos, okay? Same overpowered rules. Do you think the Chaos players would be like, let's dial it down a little bit?
Oh no, that's how players aren't complaining.
Right?
It's everybody else.
But still, that is the rule of the
Oh
army.
no! You have to understand why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I play Tau. There's implications there. In the past,
That is the rule.
In the past, I have gotten with what I thought was the proper ruling based on what I think the rules were supposed to be. And let's just say that it didn't result in the best and kindest comments.
That's when it's not clear as day rules as written.
Yeah. Well, this
Like,
this one is, there is some arguments for this one.
How can there be?
Oh, the marker lights, that line with the marker lights. Some people use that.
Use that as what?
That's exclusionary. That it only includes marker lights.
But it doesn't say this is exclusive only to marker lights.
I know. Trust me, I agree with you.
And I'm like,
I
I don't know why I'm siding with the rule.
You know what? When we play,
But it's rules
I'll
as
do it your
written.
way, and then maybe afterwards you'll be like, okay, yeah, I like your house rule.
But still, though,
No,
it's-
I agree with you.
It's
And
rules as written.
I had a discussion with Leland, and we both agree it's the same thing. I had a discussion. Everybody I talk to agrees with you, but at the same time they cringe as they agree. They're like, yeah, that's. Yeah.
I just because like I said before, I think it's overkill because it's like
But the target lock is what does it, though. Because target lock is cheap. You can give it to everybody, and all
they
of a
had
sudden,
target lot before.
Yeah, but they couldn't share the buff Mander special rules
So,
beyond
like,
that one unit.
What's the difference between like this new thing giving them buffs or something else giving them buffs?
I know, but this is like buffs on buffs on buffs on buffs.
Just buffs on buffs on buffs on buffs. There's only one thing they can fire at. Like they're okay. Instead of a bazooka, you have a missile launcher now. Like it's just overpowered, and it's all overkill. I don't think it matters. The one unit that they were going to all fire at and kill, they were going to kill anyway.
Ooh, interesting.
So I don't think it matters.
The Cadre Fireblade has a volley fire that if every model in his unit remains stationary, they can fire an additional shot. And I played it in one of the games where his unit got the extra shot and everybody else didn't. But you could actually rule that nerfs his thing, because if they're all firing as one unit and if anybody else moved, then he wouldn't get that. But I still play it unit by unit. I agree with you. Trust me, I agree with you. It's just because there's so much arguing going on about it right now, I'd rather show off the Tau without that and just see how they play. And then if the general consensus or the majority consensus is that they get to do that, then I'm going to cautiously use it and try not to cheese it out too much, because in the end we want to make good battle reports, and that's more what I'm concerned about here. Tournaments can rule what they want, and we'll go by that for the ITC for what you're allowed to do, but that doesn't mean that's what I'm going to do. There's also that too. Like, we'll say, yeah, you're allowed to do it, but I just won't, because, I like people. All right, that's all the time we have for this one. Now we have a 2,000 point AdMech / Imperium battle report for you.
Go Leland!
It's Leland with his AdMech, some Space Marines allied in, and even an Inquisitor, trying to get some psychic stuff in there. And it was a really good game, 2,000 points versus the Tau.
I hope he wins.
I'm not giving anything away.
I want him to kill you.
All I'm going to tell you is it was a good game. And it's for our Vault members at the link below. If you're not a Vault member, still click it and get a free 7-day trial, get instant access to that battle report and thousands of other battle reports, painted tutorials behind the scenes, and everything else. And we're going to be doing a second part of this, which will come out next week. It'll also have a 2,000 point battle report. It'll be Dark Eldar / Eldar allies versus the Tau as well. So thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Tau reviews. Happy wargaming.